Mike Richmond, founder of Richmond Event Management.
Ben Hardy, Managing Director at Richmond Event Management. We're here in the Amphitheatre, which is the heart of Bristol Harbour Festival's event site. It stretches from the SS Great Britain all the way through to Queen's Square. So you can see it's where we put our main stage, but there's loads of other activity happening across the entire harbour estate and the floating harbour.
REM's 15th or thereabouts. We've been involved in a number of ways over the years, and for the last 8 to 10 years we've been completely in charge of all the operational and event management delivery of it, as well as generating all the revenue, all the concessions, all the exhibitors, production, artists, big group of supporters and curators and founders that help us do all that. And it's like putting a big jigsaw together on the day before, and hopefully we've got all the corners and sides in at the moment. The Harbour Festival is kind of my second big maritime event of the year, because I've been for the last 6 months or thereabouts in Sunderland, producing on behalf of Sunderland Council the tall ships race, the big one, not the tall ships regatta, the big tall ships event that happens in the UK once every 2 or 3 years. Got back last week, so I've been kind of handing the baton to Ben and Lily in particular on the Harbour Festival. It's always good that, because when you've done it for 22 years, your temptation is just get a file off the wall and do the same thing. So there's a few changes this year, both from an REM delivery point of view, but also in layout and style and so on.
It's been really interesting, obviously Mike being in Sunderland, because we're a Bristol-based business but work across the UK. That's been really interesting for us to just internally put a fresh pair of eyes over everything. So Lily has, one of our leading project managers has been key to driving this project. That's been quite reassuring, because obviously when we've got the big questions, Mike's there in the background able to give us those years of knowledge of running this event. I think also the council have been quite keen to just have a fresh look. There's obviously in local authorities there's a change of political leadership all the time, and I think they've been quite keen to make sure that the new mayor's agenda is reflected through into this major city centre event for them. So that started before Christmas, done a number of workshops with them, and that was an interesting process for us. Probably something we don't always do with local authority, but we really enjoyed it, and I think what we see behind us and what the public will enjoy over the next couple of days will be testament to that work. What's been really useful is we've got the operational and sort of nuts and bolts sound knowledge of how to put something together like this. So we've definitely been fundamental to sewing those different threads together to put on a great event for the public. I think the key thing was probably about engagement and a transparency about who we were engaging in putting on the programme. So we'd always run a series of curators running different sections, a really good way to sort of operationally manage that, but also from a curation point of view, different flavours of the city would sort of sing through different parts of the event site. But they wanted an absolute transparency about who those curators were, and therefore the groups involved underneath them. So community groups, dance groups, performance groups. So it was really going back to basics and just how do you engage an entire city in coming down to the heart of their city and performing and showing off what they do and all the very different cultures and communities we've got here. So and that really just sings through the new Bristol Mayor's all about transparency and engagement across the city. So that was probably the key thing. Some of it I'd probably say we were doing pretty well at, actually, and I just tested that very fact. Some of it actually has brought some really lovely new bits to it, or we've been able to, for example, put dance on in a slightly different way with a slightly different budget, which is obviously key when this is a local authority event and budgets are under pressure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just worth checking out the depth of the programme for the budget, because compared to other events, this has got less than a quarter of the budget of similar maritime events around the country. It's tiny by comparison, yet what we output through that methodology of engagement is massive compared to, it's very easy just to pick up an agency book and book some acts. This is done in a completely different way, and it's full of content. It should go around every corner. It's an old coiny phrase, but voyage of discovery. The Harbour Festival is a voyage of discovery, because around every corner there should be something that you're not expecting to see, and that's very much the case this year. It's really quite thick in content, as well as a nice British rowing event on Sunday and national TV, BT Sport. which is an interesting challenge as well. Yeah, and it's a changing environment every year. You're in a city centre, effectively. It's not like building a green field where you've just got grass and you put everything in. This is a moving beast. It's an absolute headache in some ways, but challenge that we meet. In others, the city is up today and we're building a festival, which comes with an interesting combination of stakeholders and safety, and everybody knows in the event industry it's all about where people park when you've closed their car park, where they might how they get into work, how they get away from work, and so on. And that's the challenge of an urban city centre event. But a great backdrop. Yeah, I used to have loads of space. I haven't got any space now. I haven't even got space to put a 45-ton Arctic to send it off miles away. Whereas before we had production parking and we could park a load of vans here, there, and everywhere. Every square metre has pretty much been built on. Apart from obviously the planners have done a good job of protecting the quaysides. We go to a lot of cities where quaysides are just built right up to the edge and it just ruins the water space. Whereas this has been, it's been kept with events in mind. Albeit we could do with an arena or something where we can park all our trucks. You have to pick your spot in a city centre, so we have areas that are attracting music. We spread those stages and we programme those stages in a way that doesn't involve peaks of crowd movement. There are no great big national act names, but there are national acts. Tonight, Jimmy Cliff, Grandmaster Flash, we've ticketed it so it's controllable. And then tomorrow's a whole programme of Bristol-based music on here. And then Sunday we do the rowing. But you can, in Zone World, it's a dance area, a circus area, a theatre area, a spoken word area, a maritime area, a music area, and then stitching all those bits between with things like a boat show that happens at the same time. And I mentioned rowing, sport, you name it. There are zones that will accommodate that. And bear in mind, there's 43 pubs inside our site, and 32 restaurants, and we've got to get all them in, and they've got to deliver all their stock, and they've got to do it again tomorrow morning. And there's a few national banks, so it's not an easy thing to make sure those zones work, but also everybody gets to work.
Annually, this event attracts 250,000 people. There is definitely a wish from our client to ensure that every part of Bristol comes down here and enjoys it. It's very much their festival, but there's also a real aspiration that this event becomes of national interest.
We're probably about an hour's drive for our audience, an hour and a half drive time.
Yeah.
It'll never be a national event in terms of, it won't sit alongside some of the big nationals because it's not a ticketed event, it's a free open access event, but it can be nationally acknowledged. That's a different concept. But as far as maritime events go, it's very much on the national chart. And everybody, it's not an unknown, it's in its 47th year. So it's had a few names in the past, but it's now the Harbour Festival has been for 15 years. So if we get the target amount of people that come, 250 to 300,000 people, it's costing 50p a person, roughly. And we as REM generate the rest.
The budget on this event has changed over the years, and I'm sure if I sat down with Mike and gave him a year, he'd tell me the budget that year, and it's definitely gone downwards rather than upwards. That's not criticism of the council here, that's just reality of every local authority up and down the country. Mike will probably talk about the same picture in Sunderland, where he's just been for the last couple of weeks. Our model very much with other local authorities, North Somerset, Torbay Council, Bexley, London Borough of Bexley and others, has been about supporting that initial investment and growing it by the effective sale of concessions, traders, exhibitors, brand partners, and that's definitely a growth area that we see as key. If local authorities are still going to offer these large-scale, free, open access public events, it's possible, but it's a balancing act. You need the ability to sell at the right price, a spot near a main stage like this, plus being able to manage the outputs, the expenditure, and we've got that sort of balancing act pretty well sewn up now. So we've got a number of clients that we're now working with that model, and it's proven very successful.
So the balancing act for local authorities is to try and, you see other people's events that have gone to the cheapest possible supplier for their stage or their sound or their light, and you lose the production value because the budgetary pressure. What we're very keen to do in our model is keep that quality to a point. Everything's tight, everything's going up. but it's just making sure your production values don't disappear, and your look and your feel, because that's half the creation of the event. You can have all the best programme in the world, but if you can't air it properly and it doesn't look great, what's the point doing it?
Of course, one of our benefits is because we're doing this across the UK, we've got an economies of scale within the supply chain, so that's how we're able to keep that production value up.
For me, it's about seeing people have a good time. Free public events, there's not many of them about these days. Well, there are, but there's not many that are on this scale and nature. If you can pat your own back on Sunday night and say that was a job well done, then that'll do me.
I'd obviously completely agree. You know, we do this job to make sure lots of people come and enjoy themselves. I guess for me, it's also that the operational plans that we've had a refresh of stand up. I'm very confident they will. But those have been quite challenging this year, as they have in recent years, due to the sort of threat levels that we're considering and the multi-agency liaison we're having to do.
Well, it always helps when you're booking them several times to get best value. There is always a case that it's circular. Every 2 or 3 years, you look at how those contractors fit with your organisation, culturally, but also delivery-wise. That's always the time to refresh if you've got any weak points. But generally speaking, because we're in effect touring, you know, we might be sat in our hometown now, but we do go out all over the country. It's that touring that develops the relationship, and if anybody who's been on tour knows that. If you're on tour, you've got a drum tech and he's the good drum tech, you're going to book him for the next tour. It's the same for us. And you know, you can change things like security, suppliers and so on, and that usually is down to fiscal reasons more than any, but also if they've done the venue before. I think that's one of the major changes here this week.
And I also think for me, and I certainly know Lily, when we're operationally delivering this stuff, our suppliers they're part of our event team. Yeah. They're not just a contractor; they are really part of our team. So it's good to get that sort of personal, professional relationship going with power, you know, electricians, plumbers, staging guys that just know the way we work, and that speeds things up, makes things more efficient, and creates good results from a delivery point of view.